Hello, good morning students. So in the previous video we finished the last topic of the chapter, and now we will do the revision and recap of the whole chapter starting from the very first point. The first point that we studied about the electricity is electric charges. Obviously we know about them, that an object or a particle is charged either positively or negatively. There are two types of particles. And we talked about electric current. What is electric current? So these charges, when they flow in a conductor, it creates electric current. We studied about this in standard 8 in the previous classes, and now we are recalling all the topics that we studied. So that when the charges flow in a conductor for a certain amount of time, it is known as electric current, or the rate of flow of charges in a conductor is called electric current. If a conductor, let's say a metal rod, we give the two ends A and B, then the charges moving in this direction, then the current will flow in the opposite direction. This is what we had studied. So imagine this to be a simple circuit. Okay, we connected a single battery over here and a switch. So from this point, negative point, the charges flow toward the positive point as soon as we switch on the circuit, but the current starts flowing in the opposite direction. So this is how the current flows in the circuit and passing through a conductor. The SI unit of electric current is amperes. Its formula, according to its definition, rate of flow of charges, is given as amount of charges flowing in a certain amount of time, where Q gives us the total number of charges that flows in a circuit, and the unit for charges is coulombs. Okay, time taken is in seconds obviously, and electric current has the SI unit amperes. Okay. So in the next topic we will study about electric potential. What is electric potential? Electric potential is the potential energy required to move the charges, or the electric potential is the energy that moves the charges from one point to the other end of the conductor. And every single conductor has its certain potential difference. If you don't provide that much potential energy, then the charges will not move from one end to the other end of the conductor. So there's a difference between potential and potential difference. So electric potential has to be sufficient so that it meets the potential difference and the charges can move. Okay, so if the electric potential is less than potential difference, then the charges will not flow. It's simple. If you want a toy car to move, it requires 4 batteries, and if you give only 2 batteries, then the car will not move. It's simple as that. Even though you complete the circuit, somehow you manage to connect the 2 cells accordingly, but still the car does not move because it requires that much potential difference. Okay, it's simple as that. It is given as energy required to move an electron from one end to the other end of the conductor, electron or charge, and energy required to move the charge from one end to the other end of the conductor is known as potential difference. As the definition suggests, energy required or work done, energy required is equal to work done. That is why potential difference V is W upon Q, where W is work done in moving unit charge, and that unit charge is given by Q. The SI unit of potential difference is volts, given by the scientist Alessandro Volta, and the SI unit of current is amperes in the honor of scientist Andre Marie Ampere. Okay, his name is Andre Marie Amperes. So in his honor, the name is given. I hope it is clear to you students. Moving forward, we have the basic symbols to make an electric circuit by drawing the circuit and giving a schematic diagram of an electric circuit. If this single battery is given, it is not actually a battery, it is the diagram of a single cell. When you combine these 2 or 3 cells together, it creates a battery. So don't get confused. This is a single cell, and a battery is consisting of 2 or more cells. Okay, this is a symbol for an electric bulb. It's quite simple. Ammeter. Yes, so ammeter is a device which is connected in the circuit to measure the electric current, and voltmeter is the device connected in the circuit to measure the potential difference. So how much potential difference a conductor requires. Okay, The difference is current is flowing through the whole circuit. So whenever you make an electric circuit, then the ammeter is connected in series along with the circuit, and if you are measuring potential difference, then it requires on which 2 points you are measuring the potential difference. For example, in this case you want to flow the current from A to B, so you have to measure the potential difference between these 2 points. So voltmeter is always connected in parallel. Okay, a key, this is the closed state in which the current starts flowing. If you remove this key, then it becomes the blank option, which is the open circuit. Then the current does not flow. In the same way, this is the open circuit, this is the closed circuit. This is the symbol for a switch, and this is the symbol for a resistance. Next is a simple numerical. We already talked about this, so we are not going to waste any time revising the numericals. We will move forward and we will draw a simple electric circuit. This is how you draw 2 points A and B, a conductor, potential difference measurement, voltmeter, ammeter, a battery or a cell, a key, and a bulb. Okay. The next is the most important topic of the chapter, that is Ohm's law. So Ohm's law states that potential difference and electric current in the circuit are directly proportional to each other, or you can say potential difference is directly proportional to the current flowing in the conductor or the circuit. And this relation, as it is given in the definition, as the law states, simple as that, potential difference directly proportional to the current flowing in the conductor. As we know, whenever we remove the proportionality sign, there is always a constant balancing an equation. In this case, it is R, which is the symbol for resistance. Now, R is a constant of proportionality, obviously, but what is this resistance? So, resistance is basically a property of the conductor to resist the flow of charges, and hence it resists the flow of electric current. So, even though it is a good conductor, then also it has a certain resistance. It doesn't want the electrons to flow. If we keep a conductor as it is, the electrons are not going to flow by itself, okay, because the conductor is resisting them. Okay, if I have a metal conductor over here like this, and I want the current to flow through it without connecting a battery, then the current will not flow because it is resisting it. Electrons will only flow if I provide the potential difference. Okay, so there is resistance in each and every material. In bad conductors it is more, or insulators it is more, and in good conductors it is less, but the resistance is still there. Now the resistance is the property of a conductor, but if I take same conductor of same size of a different material, then the resistance would be different. However, I can change the resistance of this conductor by changing the shape of it, but we'll talk about it in the next point. First, we finish the Ohm's law. V is equal to IR, and when I plot the graph of V versus I, then the current and the potential difference will remain proportional to each other. By this simple example that we saw, you can pause the video and see it, or you can refer the previous videos and understand it again. But in short, the conductors, if we apply the Ohm's law, then when we plot a graph of it, it will always be a straight line. Okay, current I is in amperes, potential difference in volts, and resistance is in ohms. So this is the symbol for ohms, which is a Greek letter omega, but it is pronounced ohms. It is not pronounced omega. The symbol written is omega, but the unit pronounced is ohms. So don't get confused. The Greek letter is omega, but the symbol or the unit of resistance pronounced is ohms. Okay, in the honor of scientist Ohm. Okay, now we move forward to the factors on which the resistance depend. Like I said, suppose this is a good conductor, a metallic object, it will remain constant. However, if I change its shape, if I stretch it, then its resistance will change. If I make it thick, then also its resistance will change. So the resistance will change according to its shape. How does it change? If it is longer, then the resistance will increase. If it is shorter, resistance will decrease. If its thickness is more, then resistance will decrease, and if thickness is less or it becomes thin, then the resistance will increase. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. And the final one is the material. If both the conductors, if I have two similar conductors of the same size, same thickness, everything, but still the resistance is different because they are made up of different materials. So the material also makes the change in the resistance. Different materials have different resistances. Why? Because each material also has its stopping power. Conductor itself has a stopping power, but it also begs the question of which material it is made up of. So each material, different materials have different stopping power. Like aluminium will have different type of resistance, steel will have different resistance, iron will have different resistance. If three wires of three different materials are made, then the resistance of all the three conductors will be different. That is what I am trying to say. Okay, so three different materials will have different resistances, and this property of the conductor is called resistivity. Property of the material to resist the flow of charges is called resistivity. Okay, the formula for resistance is rho into L upon A, where rho is the property of the material, that is resistivity. Length is the simple length of the conductor. A is the area of the conductor. That means if length increases, then resistance increases. If area increases, then resistance decreases, and vice versa. Okay, I hope it is clear to you, students. Now all the materials have resistance, whether it is a single conductor or whether it is an appliance or a simple bulb. A bulb also has resistance. An appliance like a toaster, your TV, mobile phone, everything has resistance. Okay, so if we are connecting these appliances in different types or in different connections, there are basically two simple types of connections, that is series and parallel resistances. Okay, so we'll talk about that. First is series connection. We have three resistors connected in series, and what happens in series is that the potential difference changes, but the current flowing in all the resistances or all the materials remains the same. So when I switch on the circuit over here, the current starts flowing through all the resistances and it remains the same. So first it passes through R1, then same current passes through R2, and then same current passes through R3. So potential difference changes. So the total potential difference that I have connected gets divided into three different parts. Okay, over here we are only taking the example of three resistors. There can be infinitely many more resistors connected to it, but we are just for simplicity purposes we are taking the three resistors. So potential difference V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3, that is potential difference across R1, R2 and R3. We simply apply the Ohm's law, that is V is equal to IR, where R is the total resistance. So potential difference, total potential difference is equal to total current flowing through the circuit, and R is the total resistance of all the three connected resistances. So obviously they three are connected, but when we combine them, there will be a total potential difference for which we can find the total current, and that is what we are doing. So for potential difference V1, I said that the current remains the same. The current I is same as it is, but potential difference V1 is across R1, V2, R2 and V3, R3 respectively. Now we apply all these three equations, all these three formulas in our main equation, that is V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. What we get over here is IR is equal to IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3. Okay, we take I common, simple arithmetic, R1 plus R2 plus R3, cancelling I's. R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. So what you get, the final answer is R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3, or if there are infinitely n number of resistors connected all in series, then the total resistance is the simple arithmetic sum of all the resistors connected in series. Okay. In the same way we have another connection, that is parallel connection. So now I have taken the same three resistances and now connected in parallel. So over here what happens is the battery's one end is connected directly to all the three resistances and the other end also to all the three resistances. That means the potential difference across all remains the same. The potential difference in this case remains the same. In the previous case current was same, but in this case potential difference remains the same. So what we are doing is now we understand that when the current comes over here, it's spread out in three different parts. So in R1 it becomes I1, in R2 it becomes I2, and in R3 it becomes I3. Imagine it, like I said before in the previous video as well, imagine this to be a pipeline through which the current flows. Okay, so the current is flowing from here, but it gets changed to all the three different parts. So some water passes through this pipeline, some through this, and some through this. So you can imagine this current flowing as the part of water through pipelines in all the rooms and different faucets. Okay, so total current I, which is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3, because it splits up and when it gets combined over here the same total current flows through it. So the total current I is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. Now once again we apply the Ohm's law, that is V is equal to IR, but we want to find the current, so we take R on the other side of the equal to sign and it becomes V by R is equal to I. In the same way we get I1 is equal to V by R1, I2 is equal to V by R2, and I3 is equal to V by R3. Substituting all these values of current in our main equation, what we get finally is this: I is equal to V by R, I1 is equal to V by R1, and I2 is equal to V by R2. Similarly, I3 is equal to V by R3. Taking V common, V gets cancelled out. So 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. And finally, over here, 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 and 1 by R3. If we have n number of resistors connected, then plus 1 by Rn. But remember one thing over here, this is not the total resistance in parallel, this is the reciprocal of total resistance. So whatever answer you find in this case after solving this equation, you have to take the reciprocal of that, and I have already taught you about that in the numericals. Okay, we have seen the numericals and how to solve them, so you know how to do it.